Commander Akar had never liked the way FTL travel made him feel. His reptilian skin, shielded by heavy, natural scales, felt as though a million needles were pressing on all sides, crushing his brain under the pressure. The side effects never ceased to feel as intense as they had during his first jump years ago, when he enrolled in the Coalition Fleet Academy. FTL jump complete. Checking for sustained damage. Check complete. All systems operational. Standing by for further orders. Ketir, the second in command, reported through Akar's helmet comm, followed by confirmations from the other pilots in succession. After running through the same routine, which had been drilled into him both mentally and physically, Akar sighed, trying to mask the excitement in his voice. Form skirmish formation, everyone. We are currently in the periphery, as the last faint signal of the escaping vessels was roughly detected close to this location. Information on the weaponry they are currently deploying is scarce, but is believed to be weak, as they are merely transporting vessels stolen by the rebels. We will clear ahead and find them. Remember, our orders are to intercept and disable them for capture. Ketir added enthusiastically, and let's not embarrass our commander too much. We don't want his first leading mission to turn into a full-blown disaster. This elicited small laughs and chuckles from the other pilots. Thank you, Ketir, Akar deadpanned. Everyone in formation, now. Disciplined silence enveloped the squadron, as they methodically scoured the dark expanses of space in search of the rebels. Hours passed without a single trace or thread to follow, and Akar's anxiety spiked. Had they arrived too late? His scales chittered under his uniform. A red blip flashed on his cockpit display. 8 unidentified vessels detected in the distance. Orders, Commander, one of the pilots asked, a hint of nervousness creeping into his voice. Stay put. Akar recognized that the majority of the unidentified vessels were of civilian design, bulky mining ships that stood in stark contrast to the squadron's sleek fighters. However, 3 other vessels caught his attention. They were oval, larger in both diameter and width, with clean surfaces suggesting better maintenance. There was no mistaking it. These were transporting vessels. The question was, why were mining ships guarding them? Had they stolen these too? Commander, can you see? Ketir asked, not waiting for Akar to respond. The mining vessels seem to have sustained damage. Now paying closer attention, Akar noticed the charred and distorted outer structures of the mining ships, with gaping holes as signs of previous engagements. These vessels were barely functioning. Suddenly, all the vessels except the transport ones rotated towards the squadron, slowly advancing to protectively position themselves between Akar's fighters and the transports. A stilted silence ensued as they studied each other, each side waiting for the other to make a move. Zip! 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 Akar's comm sprang to life. A request to open communications was sent from one of the mining vessels, which he accepted. This is Coalition Squadron Commander Akar. Orders have been issued for the capture of the rebels you seem to be protecting. State your identity and the faction you represent. Static crackled on the other end before an old, exhausted voice coughed, straining to speak. Conrad! Captain Conrad of the Terran Warsaw mining vessel. More coughing followed. Terran civilian vessels this far out, defending Tvarg rebels. None of this made sense. Humans had always maintained neutrality in many conflicts and had peaceful relations with the Coalition. Akar was puzzled. Captain Conrad, what is the meaning of this? Why are you and your fellow vessels defending these rebels? Have they hijacked your ship's controls? No, we do this of our own volition, Commander, the captain replied, his voice tinged with anguish. We intervened when we saw other Coalition vessels attempting to capture them. We cannot allow you to take them to their deaths. So much mindless death. We cannot stand by it anymore. These transports are full of refugees, families trying to escape from war. There are no rebels here, only desperate people. Please, turn away. Are you out of your mind, human scum? Akar shouted, anger surging within him, spit flying from his mandibles. Have you forgotten the war and death they sowed? Have they not plundered and bombarded our cities? Have they not betrayed us?
So did our forefathers before us. So did our fathers. So we now do to ourselves.
Comrade's voice sounded dejected, laced with incomprehensible guilt.
Is this even a war, Commander? There is no Tuareg fleet or army anymore. You pummeled their planets to ashes, humiliated their people, broken and scattered them in space like sand on the shore. The Coalition has become what it hated, under the guise of justice.
Pathetic human. You disgust me, Captain. Why don't you say that to those who've lost their loved ones, who suffered through Tuareg aggression? It's easy for you humans to preach forgiveness when you've never felt the agony of war, or seen those who sacrifice themselves for victory. Katir interjected, unable to contain himself. If the old captain felt offended, he showed no signs of it. He simply sighed, as if speaking to naive children.
Are the people you're talking about even alive anymore, boy? Don't answer. I already know. I'm sure my beard has lived longer than you and your fickle hatred. This war you love so much is fought by the descendants of long-gone people.
Comrade's voice becomes ever more anguished as he speaks.
Do not speak of suffering to me, boy. I was there when the first bombs dropped. I saw with my eyes when the first Tuareg planets were breached, and your coalition unleashed upon them untold genocide in the name of justice. I was there when your soldiers marched under the remains of cities. I saw with my eyes mothers trying to hold the guts of their children from spilling out. Humanity will not stand in neutrality anymore, while you extinguish an entire race for the sins of their fathers.
He sounds in cusp of crying, as merely talking about this is too much for him. Enough! We are not here to be chastised by a human who knows nothing of the suffering our people have endured. This is your last warning. Disengage your vessels. You have no chance of emerging victorious, Akar declared, trying to mask his raging mind with an air of finality.
The outcome of this engagement was already foretold, Commander. May our humble sacrifice buy them enough time, Comrade concluded, ending the channel just as the mining vessels launched a salvo of low-grade missiles in the squadron's direction, while the transport ships prepared to make an FTL jump.
Akar's demeanor shifted instantly in the face of combat. Launch countermeasures and engage. Do not let the rebels flee. Before the last words left his mouth, flares were launched, colliding with the heat-seeking missiles desperately fired by the miners in a spectacular explosion. The fighters executed sharp turns, launching missiles of their own. Some attempted to pursue the transport ships but were halted by the relentless swarm of low-grade missiles from the miners. Fighting ensued. Missiles were launched in every direction. Each fighter disciplined, evading, while picking off the mining vessels one by one. Their numbers dwindled as minutes passed. In a moment of overconfidence, two fighters flew too close to one of the vessels to finish it off. Akar's heat radar pinged, indicating a rapidly increasing temperature from that direction. "Get away from that vessel, now!" he shouted, just before an explosion of debris and fire engulfed the two fighters. A desperate suicide attack. The miners, seeing their doom, had overheated their reactors and disabled safety protocols, turning the vessel into a ticking bomb. Emboldened by their comrade's sacrifice, the remaining vessels charged, attempting to take the Coalition fighters down with them. "Engage them from a distance! Do not enter close combat, use your range superiority," Akar commanded, as he turned to evade an oncoming vessel. Even with the superior speed of the fighters, they struggled to escape the blasts. The engagement ended as swiftly as it begun, debris floating in the void, signaling the carnage that had unfolded. The rebel transport ships managed to escape at the last moment, as the remnants of the fighters turned their unencumbered attention toward them. 5 civilian mining vessels for 4 of 12 fighters, a heavy toll. Silence enveloped the remaining survivors, bringing with it a profound sense of shame. The rebels had escaped, and 4 fighters were downed along with their pilots. It was a colossal trade-off for merely 5 mining vessels. "What now, Commander?" Ketir broke the oppressive silence. "Prepare for FTL jump. Withdraw to the main fleet," Akar replied, utterly exhausted. But stronger than his fatigue, was the shame that consumed him. His first commanding mission had ended in failure. The shame morphed into anger, which blossomed into hatred. He would make the Terrans pay for this aggression. He was certain that when the Coalition learned of this, they would seek to punish the humans into war. Akar vowed he would have his vengeance on both the Tuareg and the traitorous Terrans who had humiliated his squadron. The flames of war had been fanned once again. The torn bodies of the miners float in the void, their sacrifice unknown. A single Tuareg child crouches on the soft, natural ground, rain pouring over her crimson sky. Silently, she places a single flower by the cold stone, a Terran gesture of mourning that she believes is fitting for this moment. Before her stands a monument, an imposing stone the color of the darkest night, honoring the strangers who saved her people from total annihilation. Their names remain unknown, yet their sacrifice is profoundly felt as her tears mingle with the rain.